Okay.
Letting them.
Let me know when we're got everybody in.
Continue.
All right, good to go.
Okay, good evening. This is our on June 16th, 2021, the Governor Baker signed into law act extending this certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This act includes an extension until April 1, 2022 of the remote meeting provisions of the March 12th, 2020 executive order, superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law. Basically, most of us are meeting remotely. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. So this is our meeting for Monday, August 2nd. And is there any additions, omissions, or changes to our agenda?
Actually, Frank, I was gonna maybe when we get to administrative, add a very short discussion about to prospect in a irrigation request for an irrigation and. Yeah.
Okay. And then I just going to remind everybody about our workshop meeting. So
Next
Next
Tuesday,
week.
right? A week from tomorrow?
Yep.
Yep.
And maybe I'll just give you a little lowdown on what
That'd be
trails
good,
things are at.
So we know where to go.
All right.
Okay,
Um,
so I'll make a motion. We accept the agenda with the add-on from Amy
I'll second it.
and Frank.
Thank you, Penny. So Richard second, all in favor. Who do we have here? Andy's not in tonight, right?
Brendan's not in and Doug's
Right.
not in. It's just us four.
And Doug's not here either?
Nope.
Correct.
Okay. So Penny made the motion, Richard second, Jen
Yes.
It's a short list tonight, Frank.
and Frank, yes. Good, we're good to go. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
33 Oceanside Drive. This was continued. And
Paul Mirabito on the line. Paul,
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
loud and clear.
Hi, Frank. Just to
Good
give you an
evening.
update, at the last meeting, after the last meeting, I approached the Department of Public Works. I spoke with the Assistant Town Engineer. I presented to him a plan to what I thought would be acceptable to both the town and the applicant. They've had the plan for about 3 weeks. It has been put in front of the Director of Public Works, but I've been trying to get in touch with him for the last couple of weeks to no avail. So based on that, I'll have to ask for a continuance to the next meeting. I'm all set to file the plan as soon as I get the okay from him. I think that'll be acceptable to both the town and the applicant as well. So
Okay.
having said that, again, I'm going to request a continuance for 2 weeks.
Okay. Penny, do you have a?
Do I have a question? Weren't you supposed to check with DEP too?
DEP does not want any rocks out there.
Yeah.
Or a vertical wall, and we aren't proposing that. What I'm asking them to do is to do the work within the layout. You know, it's essentially to pay from the edge of the pavement to the property line, which would stop the erosion out there. And I have not received any response from them. I did give it to the Assistant Town Engineer who reviewed it with me. I basically changed the detail on the existing plan, and he did submit it to the director, and we haven't heard back from the director as of today.
All right.
So Paul, you're saying once you get that, then you're going to want to have just a review with us at that point.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we need a motion to continue to.
It would be 16 August, Frank, but my question would be more to Amy or Jen. Do we have room on
August,
the
September.
calendar for that?
I think we do.
Okay.
Okay,
Then I'd make a motion to continue to 16 August
Except, hold on, because the thing is, right, is that would mean that we need to get this revised plan in
by next week.
by next Monday. Paul, can you do that?
Amy, yeah, I think, I've been doing everything to try to get a response from the director across the hall, and to no avail, but I'll certainly try harder next week or in the next week. Hey, it's a very simple change. I'm just changing the detail. He has the plan. It's all marked up and colored up. I just need his okay, and that's it. So,
Okay. So if you want to continue it to the 16th,
That's my
Second.
motion. Okay.
who made that?
I made the motion, Penny made the second.
Thanks, Richard.
Sure.
So all in favor, Jen
Yep.
and Frank, yes. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Good luck. 19 Blanchard Road. On August 2nd, 2021, 5:30 PM, the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Nancy Hayes for work related to an in-ground pool at location 19 Blanchard Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posts on the town website. And who do we
okay,
have?
thank you.
Hey, Paul.
The applicant owns a home at number 19 Blanchard Road. The property is in a FEMA flood zone, AE, elevation 14. There are no wetlands within 100 feet of this lot, but because it's in land subject to coastal storm flowage and a FEMA flood zone, the applicant has filed the notice of intent to install the in-ground pool to the rear of the house with a pervious paver decking around it, which will be 5 feet wide. There's no changes proposed in the existing elevation of the land. The land's relatively flat as it is. The access to construct it will be off to the right side of the house. It's fairly straightforward. There are no performance standards for this, as it's in land subject to coastal storm flowage. So with that, I'll end and answer any questions the members may have.
Okay. Richard?
I'm trying to figure out the lot here. When you say the access is to the, did you say to the right of the house?
Yes.
And I just don't see any particular way that they're going to get in. I may be missing it. For me, it's a little hard on these drawings, but I see trees.
The house is 32 feet off the property line. There's one tree right in the middle of that
Right.
32-foot setback. So they've got about 16 feet to pass between the house and the tree without taking it out.
Okay. And what are they passing over for to get there? And
It'd be a lawn area.
okay. And they'll be reestablishing the lawn if it gets beaten up.
Yes.
I think that's all the questions I have for the moment. Let the girls go after them.
Penny?
just where's north, east, west, south? I can't see it on the, what's up here.
And the plan-
Blanchard Road runs to the east. So
north-
Blanchard Road sort of goes east-west.
Yeah, off Kent Street. I got that much.
Yeah.
Yes,
So the back of the lot is south. Right, Paul?
okay. Oh. Oh, wait a second.
See the
Townway
north there?
extension, so it's the marsh, and how much flooding is down there, I wonder? When a storm comes in, is the pool gonna float away?
The pool, no. If anything, some water may get into it.
Yeah. All right, I really, yeah,
There's no wetlands there, Penny. This is just a flood area. And
Well, I see with Townway Extension. I guess I'm confused. Go ahead, Jen. Gilson Road.
There's a marsh
Yeah,
around it, but there's also uplands around it.
right. Okay. All right. That's why I'm. What are you talking about? It's wetlands. It's marsh. Okay.
But
I have the
it's
same
not
confusion, Penny.
it's not abutting that.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. It's not at the end of the street.
Right.
Okay.
Jen?
Is this the only change proposed on site, like no additional fencing or anything else associated with the project?
She has a fence off to the left of it right now, and there's one along the rear property line. And she has one in the front. They'll probably have to install one, I think, on the right side of the pool and to meet the building code. Other than that, she does have fencing on 3 sides of it.
So the plan doesn't necessarily reflect exactly.
No, she didn't indicate she put the fence there on the right side, but they'll probably have to. When she had to, that I think that could be considered a minor activity if she has to put it there.
Probably would be better if it was all reflected
Yeah,
on one plan.
I can add it to the plan.
I don't think it'd be unreasonable to just let them add that, Jen. It's not a,
Not
That's
a deal
fine.
breaker.
but you're right. It
No,
should,
but just like-
everything
Yeah.
that's going to go on there should be
Right.
on the
Be
plan.
there.
Especially if there's, I mean, like, better to be safe than sorry, might as well put it in and not need it than,
Yep.
Have to come back.
You're right.
right, instead of finding out, you got a neighbor complaining about it. And what did you say the decking was around the pool?
Sorry.
Pervious pavers,
Okay,
we call it out on the plan.
yeah, I just couldn't remember.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm good for now, Frank.
Okay. Amy,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
must be, go ahead.
Well, I would say that this is a project approvable under orders, that resource areas, land jump, coastal storm flowage. I agree that there's some detail lacking in the plan. Like, it would be nice to have a detail for the installation of the pervious pavers. I mean, they only are pervious if they're installed in a certain way. Fence is missing. I mean, nothing we can't condition. And they're skating on, kind of the 1.7% is all it's gonna take to bump them over for a stormwater permit. So that's kind of why these things matter, because Scituate regulates stormwater on projects like this. They, meet certain standards or thresholds. Those would be my comments.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this?
So if you can
Nancy Hayes.
raise hand feature, we'll call. I see a raise hand.
That's Nancy, the owner. Somebody could unmute her. There you
Am I
go.
unmuted?
You are.
Thank you, guys. I just wanted to respond to that question about the fencing. My entire yard is fenced in with coated fencing already. The neighbor that's abutting me has an in-ground pool. She's actually closer to the ocean than I am, but her yard's all fenced in also.
Great, thank you. And you understood the part, we just, on the pervious pavers, there's a process to install those where they put stone underneath it and stuff, so they in effect work. Sometimes they're just put on like a hard pack and then they don't drain at all. So it's important who's ever installing that, make sure they install it in the appropriate manner.
Yes, I do understand that by meeting with Ross Engineering. So my pool builder's actually on this call also. So he went down and met with the building department to put his permit in about 2 months ago and went through the application with them, explaining, does he have everything he needs to move forward for my build? And his application was returned almost 2 months later to come to this process, which is why we're here. So we're clear on what we need to do. The pervious materials, I understand. At this point, I'm actually just going to do minimal coping and grass. So
Okay.
yeah, I do understand that. Sorry
Okay,
about
great. No, that's fine.
that.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions while we have Nancy on?
I don't have any question. I just think if we close this, we need to make sure that that's part of the information that we get for conservation, the detail on the pavers.
Amy, are you comfortable with that? You can add that,
I
or they
am.
can add it. Okay,
Yeah, I think we could do that way.
great. Okay,
Motion to close.
that's Penny.
Second,
That's Jen. All in favor, Richard?
Yes, I am.
Frank, yes, with the changes or the additions that we talked about. Great, thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you,
luck with
Frank.
the pool. Hopefully you'll get a little time in this summer.
I appreciate it. Can I just ask, what is the next step for me now? So now I understand we're approved, but when I'm the next pool to now get put in because of the delay? When can we build?
So you have to get the orders, and then you have to get those recorded. Hold on one second. Let me back up a little bit here. Can we close and issue, Amy?
We could, although it's 2 weeks is when we would formally issue, but we
Mhm.
could make that vote and we can, it'll just get put in queue. But Nancy, so the answer to the question is it's gonna be a few weeks. So is when you get your orders, you'll record them and then there's a 10-day appeal. So,
But
Or you-
if we,
10-day
If we-
appeal, go and then record them, either way is fine.
but if we can approve and vote to issue, then,
Then I can build with confidence, knowing that it's approved.
well, otherwise what happens is we go 2 more weeks and then we have to vote the orders that were discussed this evening, and then it goes after that. So sometimes if it's not complicated, we can vote to close and issue at the same meeting. It still is a process afterwards. The orders have to be written and then they have to get them to you and record them. It's just that we don't have to wait for another meeting.
That sounds wonderful.
Well, let me just make sure that everybody's okay with that.
Okay, appreciate that.
So we voted to close. And I guess the question is, can we vote to close and issue?
I make a motion to close and issue.
second,
That's Jen. All in favor?
Richard.
Yeah, you just need me and I say yes.
Thank you, Richard. Frank, yes. Okay, so it's still, the commission, Jen or Amy will get back to you once we have the orders and whatnot in place. And then you still have to record those. I think you want to work with Paul to make sure that you get those recorded at the registry and you bring that information back. Okay?
Okay, appreciate that.
Okay, we're on to 116 Country Way. On August 2nd, 2021, 5:30 PM in the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Daniel and Heather Whiting for work related to construction of an addition, deck, patio, fence, and removal of a portion of existing concrete driveway dwelling at 116 Country Way, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda posts on the town website. Okay, who's at this one?
Morse.
Good evening, everyone. This is James Garfield with Morse Engineering, here
Hi,
tonight
James.
representing the applicant for the notice of intent at 116 Country Way. To familiarize yourself with our plan in front of you, our property lines are shown in bold. Country Ways to the left side of the page, and the existing single-family dwellings centered on the lot, closer towards Country Way. Existing resources on this site are a bordering vegetated wetland, as well as an inland bank associated with Tan Brook, along with the 100-foot inner riparian zone, 200-foot riverfront area. And we've also got our 50-foot and 100-foot setbacks to the BVW shown on the plan in red and green. And what we are proposing is a addition off the back left corner of the house, an associated deck with that addition, which will then step down onto a concrete patio. We're proposing this concrete patio in an area that's currently used as parking area to the rear of the building. This is pavement, an impervious parking area that's currently in existence, and we're going to remove that parking area to account for this new concrete patio. And we're going to pull the edge of the driveway back towards the street. You'll see, if you can see it, there's a vinyl fence that comes off the, I guess it would be the southern side of the dwelling, and that's where we're gonna cut off the new driveway. So that's the main portion of the project. Along with that, we're proposing a 3-foot wide pervious walkway, which will connect the driveway to the front porch. We are proposing to reconstruct that retaining wall that's currently connected to the rear of the building and basically just tie it into the new addition. We are proposing to take down a hazardous tree, which is shown in red, just south of the driveway. We are proposing to install a new stockade fence and post and rail fence along the southern edge of the existing lawn area. And we're also proposing the replacement and extension of an existing stockade fence on the north side of the property. We've got a erosion control barrier down gradient of the work. And please note that all of the proposed works in previously disturbed areas. So with that, I will leave it to you for questions.
Okay, thank you. Penny?
So am I to understand, James, that it's an even switch, the concrete patio and the removal of the asphalt driveway?
I'd say more or less, I mean, there's a couple, I'd say, I have it written down here. We're removing 826 square feet of driveway, and we're proposing 850 square feet of concrete patio, along with, you know, the addition of impervious areas for the addition.
Yeah,
And we actually specified on the plan that overall project, this is a net increase of 387 square feet of impervious. So that's only 12%, which keeps us under the stormwater threshold as well.
yeah, for any drainage off it. Oh, okay. I'm all set, Frank.
Okay. Jen Foley?
I think I'm okay for now.
Richard?
Penny got most of this stuff. The tree that's going to be taken out, that is also, does that tie in with the removing the pavement, and it says replacing with loam and seed? No, I get a little confused when you say you're changing the driveway and then that. Am I reading it wrong, James?
You're asking if the portion of driveway being removed is loam and seed?
Yeah.
So the driveway as it currently stands, it loops around the right side of the house, but
Yep.
I guess in this orientation underneath the house, as we're looking at the plan here. And
Mhm.
then there's parking area towards the back of the house.
Mhm.
So that parking area is being stripped out and being replaced by the new concrete patio.
Yep.
And then the kind of the winding portion of the driveway, that's being removed and replaced with loam and seed.
Okay. And the tree that's being taken out?
And that's going to be replaced with loam and seed as well.
Okay, all right. No, other than that, Penny covered it as far as I was concerned. Oh, I, no, there are, exactly. You're proposing a new stockade fence on the driveway side and replacing the stockade fence on the other side. Have I got that right?
Did you hear that, James?
Did you hear me? I said, yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, but okay, thank you. That's what I needed.
Amy?
Well, so. I mean, as you can see, this is a previously altered, it's a historically kind of, for a long time, it's been an altered resource area within your buffer zones.
Mhm.
I mean, lot going on, a little bit complicated. We could probably use a little more detail, like not sure why people aren't giving us the details for pervious pavers. 2 in a row. No, it went through zoning for some kind of a special permit or variance, maybe to increase the nonconformity. I'm not sure. Maybe James, you can clear up why it went to zoning.
I'm sorry about that.
It's a tributary to a drinking water source, so it's in a especially sensitive area as it goes right to the town of Scituate's drinking water source. It would be good to get some kind of improvement out here, but I did look at the old file. There was a note NOI back in the 90s for septic upgrade. And that does have a C of C. I mean, we're not going to scrutinize the resource area determination on this. So they largely matched up from the 90s to now. So that's good. But as I said, it's house was built pretty long time ago. So it's had this, existing encroachment, I guess. And it's largely, it's a modest increase in development on the site with the exchange of the paved areas for the new pervious and stuff like that. So I think approvable.
Okay, but are you suggesting, I'm just looking at this as well, like you say, it's all pre-existing, but it is adjacent to Tan Brook.
Well, let's start with James. Why did they go zoning?
I'm assuming they went to zoning. This is a non-conforming lot in regards to, it looks like a front yard setback, and it looks like the floor area, the gross floor area was increased more than 20%. So with that being said, I believe they had to go for a finding on that front just to add the addition. Pre-existing non-conforming lot with that alteration.
And there was a septic. I have orders for a septic, but that's now moved. Because the retaining wall that was keeping that in is now going away. It's confusing to try to figure out exactly what's happening here, but
Yeah, I don't think we, at least from what I'm looking at, I don't think we show the septic on this plan.
well, it was located up in this retaining area on
Okay.
the north side of the building.
Isn't that Seward now?
I think it's Seward though now, yeah.
Okay, that could be it.
Yeah, so that gives this owner more opportunity to use that part of the site, I guess.
The owner has his hand raised, Amy.
Okay, he's
So
on.
when we let
Hi.
Mr. Whiting in.
Yeah, I had just mainly raised my hand earlier to confirm James's information as far as the reason for zoning, which was the non-conformance of the front setback and also the overall addition plan. And then, yes, also was just going to confirm that we are on town sewer at this stage.
Thank you.
Did I say the DEP had no comments?
Is there anybody else in the
I'm
audience?
just, is there anybody else? So I'm looking at these two lines for wetlands flags. What's why are there two?
So there's bank and there's,
Okay,
BW.
and then there's BVW. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
I mean, I've looked at aerials of this property too, and I mean, I think that they're, you know, as time went on, that they've probably created a little bit more of a backyard for themselves. Not saying this owner has, maybe the owner before, but I mean, there, you know, you can see there's shed, chicken coop, there's like a whole world of things going on. But you know, it is adjacent to this stream. I mean, it would be good for them not to mow right up and to leave a little bit of a buffer as protection to the bank. If that's possible.
So you're asking Amy possibly a small vegetated strip along the edge of the tree line there?
That's what we've asked for on a few other sites when people were doing something like that. I don't know if Mr. Whiting's still on, but
Yep, I'm still here.
so
So currently we are leaving, it's probably about a 5-foot strip along the river stream bank, if you will, that is unmowed and undisturbed. Presumably the addition of, you know, fence work could help to further separate, you know, our daily operations from that stream. So perhaps that's an avenue that makes sense to discuss.
Yeah.
I'm just looking over the plan a little bit more here. So what occurs on the other side of I'm seeing a fence on the, I guess on the right side is that if you face this from Country Way, there's a fence that sort of starts at the end of the driveway. What kind of fence is that? And or just it's a post and rail. So what's going to happen on the other side of that fence? It's all just left alone.
That's correct.
And right now that's along the edge of the grass.
Yes. More or less, Frank. There is a tree line shown. It looks like it's along the bank more than the limit of the BVW.
Right. And then is that fence just sort of going to terminate in the backyard?
That's correct.
So I guess Amy said it's already a cleared area. I mean, typically, Mr. Whiting, if this was a undisturbed lot, that you wouldn't be able to build anything close to that because it's pre-existing. We're not looking to take any away from that, but we would like to try to protect that wetlands area. We usually put up markers, a series of markers that just notify people that it is wetlands or a protected resource area on the other side of that. And I'm wondering about possibly putting a few of those markers along that fence and then maybe some boundaries or something in the back so that the backyard doesn't continue to creep further back into the
Sure.
wetland.
Understood. Yep. So today we have, a little bit of a chicken wire type fence kind of blocking us from going back into that wetland area. But if you'd like us to consider something more, permanent, and then also, the proposal to incorporate some sort of signage, those are certainly ideas that we're receptive to and would be happy to accommodate.
Appreciate it. Yeah, they're just small signs that would go along the fence in a few locations and across the back, basically trying to discourage folks from advancing towards the wetland anymore.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
That's a good idea.
You ready?
I think that's it for me.
I make a motion to close.
So that's Penny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is Jen? All in favor, Richard?
Sure. Yes.
And Frank, yes. Okay, great. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're at 754 Country Way.
RDA.
Yep. On August 2nd, 2021, during the 5:30 PM meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation will act on the request of ZORJ Holdings LLC for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to repairing a septic on property known as 754 Country Way, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Don't mess this one up, James.
Uh, Again, for the record, James Garfield with Morse Engineering. Here representing the applicant for the RDA with this septic system upgrade. So to familiarize yourself with the plan, our property lines are shown in bold. The existing mixed-use building on the lot is centered on the lot. I guess the way we're looking at it, kind of closer to the bottom of the page, and Country Way is shown beneath the lot, bottom of the page. So the site, in terms of resource areas, has a bordering vegetated wetland to the rear, shown in blue. We're also showing the 50 and 100-foot setbacks in red and green. This site's currently serviced by a septic system that exits out the rear of the building. The site slopes back towards the wetlands, and we're proposing a new 1,500-gallon septic tank and crushed stone leaching field, which will also exit out the rear of the building. And this helps us achieve a gravity-fed system as opposed to a pump system, which puts us between the 50 and 100-foot wetland setbacks. And we've also got an erosion control barrier along our limit of work. So with that, I'll leave it to you for any questions.
Thank you. Jen?
Yeah. I mean, it's real close. But no, there was no other great spot for it, I'm guessing.
That's correct. This is the spot for us to achieve a gravity-fed system. So it makes sense for the system to go. And it's also the location of the existing system on top of that, so.
Okay. I mean, I wish it was to the left so that it could at least just be, I don't know, 25, 30 feet further out of the buffer, but I'll pass it on to the rest of the crew.
Richard?
I just want to make sure I understand, James. The current system is in the same precise location?
Yeah.
Well, the current system is a different type of system, but yes,
Mhm.
it is in the same location.
And does it take as much space as the new system is going to take?
No, the existing system is a leaching pit
Mm.
off of the septic tank. This is a new leaching field, but we're pulling it up higher out of the groundwater. So environmentally wise, I'd say it's an improvement.
And to push a little bit more on what Jen said, it's as far toward the street as it can be. I understand you're not going to go to the front yard or anything, but you can't bring it closer to the house at all to get it further away from the 50?
That's correct. Due to groundwater, that's about as far back as we can pull it.
I'm just not prepared to ask engineering questions, so I'll leave that to Frank, but otherwise I'm good.
Okay, Penny?
I guess my only question is, James, and I understand what you're saying, the gravity fed and everything, but there is that big area of the gravel drive parking area, down as you go down behind the house off. And it couldn't go over there, at least the leaching field.
From what I can tell, the area that we're showing the leaching field is just slightly further down gradient than that area off to the left.
Yeah,
So I'm pretty sure that's why we ended up going with that area, just to give us that much more room to, as I said, achieve that gravity fed system. I know that based on the groundwater elevations, it was very tight. So
okay. All right, thank you.
Amy?
James, did you do test pits upgrading? It looks like you only did test pits along the back there.
further up gradient though, I mean, groundwater is not going to change that much over that short of a distance. And going much further up gradient, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a pump system.
Right, well, I think our desire would be for it to be pulled as far out of the buffer as possible, even if it means reconfiguring the shape of it. But they've cleared right to the 50, which is your no touch boundary. We're not confirming these resource areas. We don't usually do that as part of an RDA. So, that's one thing that definitely would be noted. So, by letting them clear up to this boundary that they're showing, there's not a lot of room for, I don't want to say disagreement, but we're making the assumption that this line as shown is accurate, which we know is not always the case, but that'll be duly noted on the request. And it is just a request for determination of applicability, and it is something that they are allowed to do. It's a win as far as like upgrade if it's a failed system to a working system. So that's definitely a win, and that would appear to meet the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act. I just, it's like you're putting these markers along the so-called 50, but we're not confirming that. So not sure what you want to do about that, Frank. So that would be kind of like the sign, like we did confirm it when we're not. Because sometimes it's important also on projects like this. If we really are in the interest town, you'd want to pull it as far out as you could.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, before I comment, do we have anybody in the audience for this one? I don't see anything. So I mean, this is, it was Dr. Wahls, the dentist, space. So there's already some business. It's adjacent to the business zone, but it's down from it in North Scituate. And then if you look in the back, there's a wetlands there, but then you have the MBTA rail, which pops back up in the back. So it's a relatively small area before that goes back to the tracks. I kind of get why people want to do a gravity system, avoiding the pumps and the mechanical equipment and whatnot is really helpful, especially power outages and things like that. If you tried to put it between the house and the property line on the right, by the time you have the setbacks for the house and you have the setbacks for the property line, it would almost probably reach back as far as it's to the back now. I mean, this is a layman looking at it, but trying to take the same area and convert it to that, it looks like it would almost reach back just as far. And if you put it on the other side, you have already a parking area that's there. I mean, the whole reason that the cesspools fail is because they're in the groundwater. And that's the whole idea of building these systems, so that you can get the groundwater separation between the bottom of the field. So, I mean, if it was my property and I was trying to build a sensible system on it, I guess that's the same approach I'd take. There might be some slight tweaking, but I see a huge benefit in this field over an existing cesspool and leaching pit. So I get what you're saying, Amy, about the boundary markers. We don't know it for certain, but we're not really saying that those are the 50. We're just saying no one should encroach any further than that.
Right. Yeah.
And I think if you note that on this plan and in the folder that we haven't approved that line, I think that's adequate. And they're not trying to add any more paving or anything, any more impervious surfaces that I can see.
New system.
All right, so it's going to be a negative then.
Yeah,
That would, well, somebody's got to make that motion.
I make a motion for -3.
That's Penny. We have a second.
I'll second it.
That's Richard. All in favor? Jen?
Yep.
And Frank, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 39 Jericho Road. On August 2nd, 2021, during the 5:30 meeting at Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Scituate Tavern for determination of applicability of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to repaving parking lot property known as 39 Jericho Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend the meetings. Information is access the meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. And who,
This is an after the fact filing, and I
remember the day you called me.
yeah, and Michael Sicitella is on the phone, so I'm going to unmute him.
Okay.
All right.
Here you go.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi, Michael.
So why don't you fill us in, please?
Sure, thank you. And you can't see them, but I'm here with two of the owners, Jay Mulvey and also Debbie Mulvey. James Mulvey, who you probably know better, as you've probably seen him at the restaurant a lot. He just got out of the hospital, so he's not able to attend tonight. So this is a very unusual situation. The Scituate Tavern was purchased back in 2001. It was previously the Blue Mooring. The building that's subject to the property was there and has been there for probably more than 10 years before that. There were some improvements made after the property was bought to the building. But what you saw and what you see when you pull into the place is primarily there since 2001. there is a paved area as you, to the right of this yellow rectangle that is between the yellow rectangle, which is part of the parking lot where you drive in and out, and the restaurant itself, which is to the right. That's all paved. And that has been there and was there when the property was purchased back in 2001. That encompasses parking spaces, including handicap parking spaces, which lead to the ramp, which you can see that's just a little bit kitty corner to the top right of that yellow rectangle. Mr. Mulvey was working at the restaurant on a Monday morning, and he received a knock at his door. And a fellow identified himself as a company that had done some paving work. They had some leftover asphalt, and they noticed there were a few potholes that had developed in the parking area itself. Mr. Mulvey was told that they could just simply take some of the asphalt, repair the potholes, and that would be it. Seeing it as an opportunity to repair a condition which was, potentially hazardous to his patrons, and also the people driving in and out, people walking across the parking lot, he okayed the patching of the potholes. A few hours later, received a knock at the door. He'd been in the kitchen, he'd been working, came out to find that a larger area had been paved that he had not authorized. The fellow told him, well, we had the extra asphalt. We decided to make it look better. So what you see in that yellow rectangle is the area that was paved as opposed to the potholes that were contained within that area. Mr. Mulvey was shocked, especially when he received the bill, and he has since filed this Form 1 application to determine whether or not this area was indeed to be determined to fall within the statute. Our position for many reasons is that it is not. There may be exemptions, and that this issuing authority request would so find. That's where we start.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll start with Penny.
So am I to understand inside the yellow square or rectangle, that's the only thing that got paved? The rest has not been repaved?
Correct. That's absolutely correct.
Okay. I'm fine, Frank.
Okay, Jen?
If Penny's good, I'm good.
Whoa, whoa.
Richard?
Well, if the ladies are good, what shouldn't I be good too?
No, you're your own person.
No, assuming the story is correct as stated, and I have no reason to doubt it, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like we were hearing a play, but
Yeah, that's right. But I'll give the benefit of the doubt, and I do know from going there that there always has been pavement there. So, yeah, I'm fine.
Amy?
Yeah, I mean, we're just really bringing this on board. It was, I think that something that you could vote for a negative finding on. The area is not, as you can see, it's not huge, but they definitely, you would need a permit for this type of a project.
Don't let it happen again.
Right.
It's
No, no,
definitely
no.
subject to jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So I think that the applicant is acknowledging that for sure. So that's all I have to say.
Do we have anybody on the audience for this? Want to raise their hand? Okay, so, I mean, I agree that it's a fairly insignificant area, and I also think that Scituate Tavern's been, a good asset to community, and I agree with the area that was paved, but it seems to me like I remember back when they were requesting to have some of this paved, that was sort of going to be the extent of it, and that they were aware that they couldn't really pave anymore without doing drainage or some other work. So whether it was a misunderstanding or whatever, I do think that the property owners knew and do know that they're in an area with jurisdiction, and that they shouldn't be doing any of that without coming before the commission. Anything that, even though this is all dirt parking, it's so tightly packed that all of this runoff heads towards the marsh that's in back of the restaurant. And there's a little bit of vegetation there, but I'm just wondering if there's any opportunity to make any improvements, anything that runs off. You know, it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be super expensive or an engineered kind of thing, but I'm just wondering if there's any opportunity to get any additional protection towards that marsh, if we think that that's important or needed.
Seems like a good idea.
Well, for what it's worth, the water, as you can see to the left of the yellow rectangle, there's a little square. That's the drain for the parking lot, and the water does drain that way. So these folks who did what they weren't supposed to do at least had the presence of mind to properly angle it so that it does drain towards the drain. It does not drain towards the wetlands.
Well, but it goes into a drain, and where does that drain go to, Mike?
That has always been the drain for the
It's
parking
been
lot.
there since we bought the
It's
property.
been there since the property was purchased.
But is it piped? Is there a pipe that's in that drain that goes from there towards the wetlands?
Towards the street.
It goes- We believe it goes towards the street, but we're not positive. We've never really checked it. But we would presume that if there's a drain there, that they wouldn't have drained it towards the wetlands. They would have drained it towards the street where the proper runoff would take place, Frank.
Well, that whole parking lot's lower than the street, so the only thing that it could go into would be would be drainage out on the street. But all of that drainage only goes into that creek or wetlands in back of the restaurant. I mean, there's no place else for it to go. So what the commission's concern is runoff from hard surfaces, oil, gas, things from the cars and whatnot that ultimately sheds towards the marsh. And every time you add another piece of impervious, it just expedites that water heading in that direction. I mean, if that's just a dry well and then the water gets absorbed and whatnot. Let's go the other way. If the applicant had wanted to pave an area and they came before the commission to pave that,
Yeah.
the request would be that they do some sort of mitigation or show where that water is going to drain to and how it's going to be dealt with. And we've been going through this with a number of different places that want to expand their parking or change their parking, like the Jacob Hatch building. So again, I'm not thinking that this is a huge area or it's a complicated needs to be super complicated, but our objective as a commission should be to protect that area that's in back of the restaurant. And you can see the buffer goes way into an area because this was, you know, like I said, it's been there a long time. The Fords had that property when it was the heck was the name of it?
Blue Mooring.
Blue Mooring.
When I was a kid, Frank, I
So,
mean, it's
but-
been
but-
there forever.
But we have a file on this property because the Blue
Yeah.
Mooring was demolished and a new building was built, and somehow they came up with a configuration of areas that, like, maybe as Mr. Satella said, it was an area that was already paved, so that area remained. And it's
What about a row along the back of something to add to what's already there, Frank? Something that likes water.
well, I mean, we're in no rush to close because this isn't after the fact,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's already done. So either we suggest something or we leave it to the applicant. That would be my thought. I mean, there's four of us here tonight, so it's up to you guys what way you want to do this.
Actually, I hadn't thought of the fact there's no rush on closing this. So yeah, let them come up with an idea or give them a chance to come up with an idea.
Or we suggest something. And again, I'm not thinking that this needs to be
Big.
a big deal or super complicated, but I do think that to do our part, that's what we should be looking at.
This would give us a chance too to take a spin by, because I know there's vegetation there, but it's not clear in my mind exactly what's in the back there. So,
The other thing I wonder is it a perfect opportunity for the drain that is there to be checked out to see where the water is directed?
Wouldn't hurt.
I mean, I think we could ask for that.
It's a great idea, Richard. Remove the mystery.
yeah. I mean, if it's going to the wetlands, it's going to the wetlands, but that's all the more reason to, you know, put a little more protection out there.
Like I say, it could be a dry well or
Yeah,
or
right.
it could, but we don't know that.
I would
So,
think it would be good to know.
All right. So you want to continue it?
I think that's reasonable.
How long?
No. Let's get this done tonight.
Well, what's your suggestion?
I think we can put something in, requiring an evaluation of the drain. And how about some conservation posts along the rear of the property so that people that work there don't dump things out in the bushes and stuff like that? Sensitive area.
So if
Or you're going into like an NOI territory, and if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but then that's just a positive finding, and then you're really asking him to, like, you know, get an engineer on board and that type of thing. But I think that this is simple enough. We can capture what you're talking about and close it up tonight. I really do.
Well, again, I'm not suggesting that this be a positive determination, and we deal with a number of things in an RDA. And I don't think that whatever water there is changed a lot. I mean, that area was already compacted soil. There wasn't much happening there other than the water still ran in the same spot. So they went from a very hard packed gravel to asphalt. It would just be good to know if there's some sort of improvement that could be made, that this is the time to ask for it.
I think conservation posts along the rear would be good. And we'll ask them to report back to us on what's going on with the stormwater. Then we can continue the conversation from there. Sound like a good idea?
I hear what Frank's saying, Amy. I mean, the work's already done. So what difference does it make if we continue this until we get the information we want? I mean, one way or the other, it's done. The damage is done. The asphalt's down. So we just want some clarification before we make it a -3. We're not holding anyone up. I don't, you know.
Well, that's all true. The only thing I'm thinking is that we have very busy agendas.
No, I understand that.
I
But
think we could probably just button up tonight. And we can have them still report back to us. Just not sure we really need to, like, put them on another follow-up agenda. You know,
So if they discover that that there is a pipe from that drain and it goes to the marsh,
Mhm.
then
I mean, I'd be happy to go out there and meet the owner, try to figure it out. We can do a little reconnaissance and I can report back. That would make you feel like to have me in the loop. Or
Yep.
you, either that or you're talking like maybe pulling in a professional.
no, look, I don't think that this is an egregious thing or any, and I don't even think it's hugely significant. I don't think anyone has to spend thousands of dollars to figure this out. I mean, it was a area that was compacted before. It wasn't really draining. They've changed the surface to asphalt, but it still should have gotten approval. And we conditioned this location when the restaurant was built or rebuilt. So there was a set of orders with what they should do there.
And this wasn't part of it.
Right. So you continue it for a couple of weeks, you get the information that you asked for, and you have some idea of what might be a simple or fair, reasonable betterment in terms of that marsh. That's all.
Okay, so make that motion then.
Penny or
Yeah,
Richard.
no, I'll make a motion to continue this until August 16th.
Seconded.
Okay. We have Penny's motion, Richard second, all in favor, Jen
Yep.
and Frank, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know.
We're on to,
Could we do the orders of conditions quickly? Because the other ones are gonna require some conversations,
okay,
all right?
Yeah. No, I think we should,
Oh.
yeah, do the orders. Yep, orders are fine.
Okay, do you want to do them individually or just name them in one motion?
We'll Probably
I
just
think
in one
name them
motion.
all in one motion.
Okay, because they were all very standardized. Okey dokey, except the dock, maybe. I make a motion, we accept the orders of condition as written for 316 Hadley Road, 0 Oceanside Drive, 146 Central Ave, 142 Hummerock Beach Road, and 8 Newell Street, the dock.
I have a problem only with 8 Knoll Street because I'm recused from that.
That's right, and that would only be 3 of us, so maybe their orders can't be issued tonight, Amy.
Yeah,
Okay, so
So,
let's omit 8 Newell Street.
yeah,
And so Penny's
Otherwise, I'm
made that
fine.
motion.
Right.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that as long as Knoll Street's removed, yes.
Okay. So Richard second, all in favor, Jen
Yep.
and Frank, yes. So we'll have to just do Newell Street at the next meeting.
can I do the extensions, Amy?
Seems like you want to.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't know
well-
if Amy has a problem with one.
I don't have a problem.
Okay,
I like to look at it like that, but I mean, I do though think that you might want to look at, there's 2 of them are pretty old. Like it's 6825, you know? And then the Glades Road ones, those are those Oak Development ones. They're pretty recent.
yeah,
I guess because of the age of the older ones, I'm gonna say, I would think that maybe you might only want to do a 1-year extension.
Okay, for those two. Surfside and Chief Justice. Okay, I'll make a motion for a 1-year extension for 160 Chief Justice Cushing Highway and 55 Surfside Road.
That's Penny's motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is Jen, all in favor? Richard?
Yep.
And Frank, yes.
Okay, and I make a motion for a 3-year extension for 85 Glades Road and 87 Glades Road.
I'll second that.
That's Richard. All in favor, Jen?
Yep.
And Frank, yes. Okay,
There, now, the rest is discussion stuff.
Well, actually, the enforcements are a vote, that they're ratifying enforcement orders for 48 Man Lot and 10 Pennycrest.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to discuss anything on those.
Well, so I think we've already discussed both of those already.
Okay.
Those are just putting in like solidifying the restoration plans that you have for both of those projects into just EO paperwork so that we can, on the first one, vote a C of C, and on the second one, because it was a RDA, and it has an accompanying RDA to go with this restoration, just gives it more meat, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement orders for 48 Man Lot Road and 10 Pennycrest Road.
Penny's got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Jen, all in favor, Richard?
Yep.
And Frank, yes.
Okay, so the next one you'd want to discuss, right? Sunoco Station?
Okay, Sunoco Station, let's see, is anybody on the phone from Sunoco Station? No. I mean, I just want to, you know what, I think that's one of the things that we're gonna start doing is just putting some of these enforcements on our agendas so that we can remind all involved that we're not looking the other way. Not that we were, but that we, you know, we've got expectations out there for what's going on. And, I mean,
Did he get back to you at all, Amy?
well, yeah, I mean, I've been out there and, we're waiting, we're still kind of waiting for him. You know, the story is kind of changing a little bit.
So we didn't get back to you on the drainage thing.
Well, yeah, so there's just that the drainage, there's paperwork on the drainage, like old paperwork. Actually, I see Sean Harris is on the call here. Maybe he knows about this, but apparently he's told me that it went to the board of selectmen and the selectmen said, don't worry about it, that type of thing. But I mean, regardless, it is wet and they've been asked to remove the, you know, the trailered modular units out of the buffer to block access and to take the fill out, to get a wetland scientist.
And stop clearing it, I hope.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure they're not filling or clearing, evidently, but they've got trailers back there. And I mean, I went by this afternoon, it didn't look much different.
Years
There's
ago,
not
though,
really-
there was growth there, Amy. I mean, it
Yeah.
has been cleared, so I don't want any more clearing done.
Right, no, I don't think
Let it
any
grow
more
back.
like recent is going on, but, yeah, we're not making a lot of progress. I mean, we could talk about, you know, it's still good to keep these things friendly, you know, as much as we can.
But this has been going on for a few years, Amy.
Right, so will options include, you know, fining, penalizing lawyers, like a letter on legal stationery to try to get attention, to try to get compliance? We're just not, we're kind of in a little bit of a stalled pattern, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. It's just frustrating though. Because like,
Right.
when I was in the office and I said to you, you know, when the high school was built, the vernal pool was not a vernal pool. It was a retention basin. And over the years,
Mhm.
it became a vernal pool. Drainage was going in there. And that's how it became a vernal pool. And if there's my way of thinking, if the drainage was coming off the road, well, now maybe at some point there wasn't wetlands back there, but there certainly is now. So it's like you got to go with what Mother Nature has dealt us at this point in time, no matter how the water got there.
Right, well, so what the owner is saying is that all of the water behind their property is a result of drainage in that intersection from CJC and the
Yeah.
cross street. And that's why, like, the water is from the town and the state, and that's why it's not wetland and he's able to do whatever he wants to his property. But that's not really true, because it's regulated as a wetland if it's coming from an up gradient wetland, which, I mean, it's complicated. We've asked him to
Yeah.
get a wetland scientist to cut, to give us an evaluation and an opinion, but it's just, it hasn't really even gone. He is not, doesn't want to spend the money. So,
what do we do?
well, there's lawyers that we could have, it's how you get serious with somebody, right? You send a letter on legal stationery.
Yeah.
We could also send a fine, one of the tickets that we have. So that would be an option.
So I totally support, I think, Amy, your general strategy of like keeping things friendly, but I also want to be cognizant of the value of your and Jen's time. And like, it's at a premium. There's not a lot of it. We're running out of it. So delegating some of it to tossing a fine or sending a legal letter, I think is totally respectful of all the parties. Like, they had an opportunity to respond and you guys have limited time. So you kind of just need to, like, unfortunately do it, because you have to be respectful of your own time.
Yeah.
To piggyback on that, I think you're right, Jen. Don't want anybody to think this is going to go away. You keep after it, unfortunately, over and over again until you start getting a response that's responsible.
Yeah, I'm gonna be meeting with town council when, so I think I'll roll this in and see if we can't get a letter off that is a little more serious than, I mean, we've already sent them enforcement orders and other letter, and I've met with them a couple times. It just seems to be in more of a tread water type of pattern. Nothing's really, no traction, is not gaining much traction here.
What's
yeah,
Fred
all right.
do? He's quiet.
I'm actually reclusing myself on this one. So
Oh. All right. Well, I just know we've been discussing this for years. I think possibly even before you came, Amy, that we had noticed that that's when the clearing started out back there. And he was spoken, well, I think Eddie owned the property at the time. Frank could say yes or no. Scarsaloni, and he has since sold it to this man. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he was spoken to. So this is not something new, but the longer it goes on, the worse it is for the area. If you keep letting people, we had some landscapers dumping their clippings and everything out there. I mean, this just isn't right. And now you have the modular homes being stored there, and Lord only knows.
I just think what Penny's saying and what Jen said, I think a fine, maybe an initial fine is in order. And I think a note from the lawyer going over exactly what the violations we see are and that we expect action to just keep it moving. Let them know that it's not just your time and Jen Smith's time that's being used. It's just not going to be tolerated by the Conservation Committee.
Yeah. Go for it, Amy.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
basically what I said.
Yeah.
right.
All right,
right,
if we,
sounds good.
we're good with this one, right?
Yep.
Is that good, Amy?
Yes. Okay, let's go on to approval of minutes. Were there minutes to approve?
No.
Do you have to ratify the enforcement orders at 48
We've already done that. Frank.
and
We
lot
already
intent?
did
So,
that.
so we're good. Okay.
Okay, so now C of Cs, so we're gonna issue those C of Cs listed on there.
48, 272, Ocean.
13 Oceanfront, yeah.
Yeah.
Request for minor, okay. Request for minor modification, 6 Pond View Ave. So that property was I think it was a raised rebuild on Pond View by Sharon, and there's still open orders actually. And anyways, we've got a driveway modification that looked to me like it was a minor modification from the orders. So,
Yeah, but did I read it that they want to pave something that wasn't to be paved?
yeah,
Okay. So
Yep.
how do we feel about that? A lot of times we don't like
This-
that.
that describes just what they want to do. So that's existing. And then can we scroll down to proposed? So they want to add drains on the side of the driveway and pitch it.
What kind, I mean, again, I'm just not an engineer at all. So the trench drain, okay, I can figure some of that out, but I guess the question I would have as a non-engineer, does that take care of as much water as if it's a pervious surface as was planned?
I think if I remember right, we allowed something very similar off of Old Oaken Bucket Road. There's a long driveway that runs sort of alongside the cranberry bogs. And they came in originally, I think they had a set of orders that it was a gravel driveway and they're having difficulty maintaining it. And they came to the commission a couple of years ago with pretty much just almost a similar plan.
Mhm.
And the idea, Richard, would be that, the water would shed, they pitched the driveway a little bit, the water would shed into that crushed stone and then be absorbed in some of that crushed stone that's under the asphalt, as opposed to being absorbed
Directly.
into the dirt, into the earth driveway. And I think that we've heard arguments back and forth, but my own personal observation is once a gravelled area has been driven over for so long, it's so compacted, there's very little drainage that actually occurs. And in some ways, what they're proposing might actually absorb more water than what we might get out of a driveway. But
That's what I wanted to
to
understand.
your point, I'm not an engineer either to actually do that calculation, but we have had those things proposed to us by engineers, and they seem to argue that that's a viable consideration, and it seems logical.
Okay. That's what I needed to know. Okay. That answers my question.
The alternative is that we don't allow that, and we tell them they have to have something that's more porous. Like the lady with the pavers around her swimming pool. There's been a lot of headway made towards more pervious things like pavers and different kinds of paving stones or whatever you have, rather than an asphalt driveway. They have those same sort of thing, but they're laid in concrete. I mean, they're laid in crushed stone with enough room for that water to actually work through the pavers. In either case, over time, a lot of these things don't function as well as when they're first built, just because they get silt and stuff in them.
Yeah,
So
it's like a toss up, Frank, huh?
well, except that we do, if this same piece was in, say, Hummerock,
We wouldn't.
I don't think that we'd consider a pavement there.
No, we wouldn't.
We wouldn't, that's right.
But it's on a barrier beach. It's a little different.
Yep.
This is in really a floodplain area.
Yeah,
And that's what we're trying to encourage folks to do, something like that. If they feel like they need to pave it or they want to pave it, is just how do they deal with some of the runoff?
Got it. Okay.
And I think that's the hope, even for like the Scituate, that they would come up with something if they have an area that they've paved, that water gets dealt with in a
Got it.
kind of organized manner.
Okay. You answered my question. Thank you.
So I don't think this is unreasonable, but we are going to, if these are the things we're going to allow people to do, as opposed to putting in a gravel or a crushed stone driveway or something.
well,
I'm not opposed to it, because I think sometimes practically this is something that's easier. Snow removal, there's a whole bunch of reasons.
Okay, and based on that, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it as long as the water is not directed across the street, because then let's face it, it's gonna end up in the pond.
Yeah.
You know, I want it to go to the ground and slowly make its way.
I'm just doing a little remembering. Is this the house that appears to be illegally or inappropriately trimming the marsh regularly?
I don't think so.
He's on the other side of the street.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, but you think, is he the one going across the street and trimming?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
I've heard from some abutters on my evening walk, but I'm not sure if I'm getting my numbers right.
Another house, farther back towards the turn before you get to Surfside, back the other way.
Jen,
Yeah,
can
no,
you
this
pan
is
back to
closer
the-
to Gannett.
Thanks.
This is one over from Gannett.
Wait a minute.
Oh, it's one over from Gannett?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong then.
Me too, Jen. Oh, Gannett's up there. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
I know
totally-
which one
I'm-
it is now.
I'm
It's
Yeah.
a
totally
lovely
wrong.
new house that's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that it matters that it's
Oh,
new, but
yeah.
you know what I'm
So
saying?
sorry. Yeah, no, this is, they've done such a
before the
beautiful
sharp
job with it.
turn. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see it now.
So
So
do
it's,
we have
I'm
to
pretty
vote
sure it's
on
just
this?
land
Yeah.
subject to coastal storm flowage.
I'm wrong. I apologize.
Uh-huh.
Do we have to vote on this, Amy?
You would.
Yeah. Can I make a motion, Frank?
Sure.
I'll make a motion for the request of 6 Pondview Ave for the minor modification of the
Wait a minute,
driveway.
we've got a hand. We've got a hand.
Oh,
Probably in reaction to my inappropriate and incorrect statement. Sorry.
All right, well, I'm asking, I'm not sure it's gonna work. Oh, here we go. You're unmuted.
Hi.
6-7.
You want to just
Sorry,
state your
I-
name and address, please?
Sure, this is Brad Dunn at 6 Pondview Ave. I was just only hopping in to clarify the location of the house, and you all
Sorry.
got it perfectly.
This
so,
is the owner.
yeah,
You got
yeah.
it.
okay.
You've
We're
done a
all set
beautiful
now.
job.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Somebody gonna second the motion?
I'll second it. All right. Jen
So we
did.
have Penny for motion, Richard for second, Jen
Yep.
and Frank, yes. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so here's where we add the one for to Prospect. All right, so this is one, Jen, I think you were on with this one, but it's another new build. Well, actually, they had orders for Phragmites across the street, but it's right on Second Cliff, like over the bridge, take a left on the right on the corner of Prospect there, new house. So anyway, so most of the project is out of the buffer and out of the flood zone. But in our orders, like we pretty much carry a condition that there's no irrigation wells to be conserving of water. Although irrigation wells can't be sited within the 100 anyways, they're not supposed to be. But anyway,
The house, just for clarification for Jen and Richard, this is the house that faces the harbor, the brand new one.
yep,
It faces the harbor and it sets
Theirs.
up high. And
Yep.
they
Yeah.
want, yeah, okay.
No, I'm
right.
looking
So
at,
anyway, so they'd like permission to put an irrigation well out of the buffer. But so it would be a request for a minor modification for the orders that are still open to, to basically allow this irrigation well, even though there's a condition, which is a standard condition in all orders that are subject to wetlands protection, for no irrigation well. So we would make an exception for that.
well,
Since
is,
most of the property is outside of the buffer and flood zone anyways.
so a very simple question that probably is really simple and I just don't get it. What's the difference between a well and a system?
So a
a cistern?
cistern would be water that's, say, collected from the roof, Richard, or some other source.
No, I mean a system, an irrigation
Oh,
system.
so the irrigation system is an underground, as opposed to
Right.
people using their hoses and sprinklers,
Right,
they're having a system installed underground.
I got that. So what's the
And-
well?
So then they need a water source.
Mhm.
And so when the town is in a water ban or some other means, they can use water. The other thing, people that are hooked up to sewerage pay a fairly high rate for water. The water that you're using to irrigate your lawn is not going back into the sewer, but you're paying a sewer fee
Right,
to discharge that water. So there's a few reasons that folks would like to have a well if possible. And in this particular case, this person contacted me about it. And they've been trying to establish a lawn. And it just keeps dying because they're trying to follow the town rules on watering, which is good
On
for
water.
them. You know, that they're concerned for that because there's a lot of people that aren't. But they could drive some form of a well and then be able to maintain get their lawn or plants and stuff established. I mean, if you go over there, they have a huge area that's just dead. It slopes.
no,
And they've been trying to reestablish it. And I think it's something that we need to talk about with some of these boilerplate orders, because we had a request, if you went back like a year or two ago at the end of Old Driftway, they were building a new house and the people wanted to put in a well because they had to water, they had to stabilize the bank
Yeah.
from the top of the bank down to the ocean. And they were trying to figure out how they could plant all those plants, spend thousands of dollars on that we were requiring them to plant and water them. And so they were requesting a well, and I can't remember what we came up with. It was tricky. We don't actually grant permission for wells. That's the Board of Health. So, but if they're in a resource area, we have jurisdiction over what they do with some of that. And then in our orders, we say that people can't have an irrigation system that's put
That's my
underground. Right. But I think what some people are and rightfully so, aggrieved with is that Toll Brothers has installed a whole system there, including wells and irrigation for their project.
yep,
And it's like, well, wait a minute, how does that work?
no consistency.
So it's tricky. You know, we're trying to, I'll get it to you, Penny.
Yeah.
didn't forget you. We're trying to show conservation, water use, all that sort of thing. But at the same time, one of the biggest developments in town is doing the thing that we're telling other people they can't have.
Exactly. But it does say, my whole point was really that the restriction that we use on all of our conditions is system, and this is specifically well, and was my whole purpose of the question.
All right. So, Penny,
I was just thinking when you said that, because Toll Brothers do have irrigation and they have their own wells, that maybe we could just change that order to say no irrigation system that depends upon town fed water,
Well,
town water. Where,
except that the folks with water resources and the state would argue that we're drawing on a finite source. So when we agree to do these things, we're still drawing water, whether you think it doesn't matter if a well's out on the cliff. Where wells are more restricted is where people are in water resource areas. And then you have competition with what the town, in an area adjacent to the town. So it's not a simple answer to this question.
okay,
But I think people's request to do this, I mean, I'm not personally, I'm not opposed to them having a well and doing that. Supposedly, even if a person drives a well and has this, they still have to comply with the town's regulation. You can't water. Now, how you monitor it's another story. But if the rule is that you can't water other than X number of days or whatever, you still have to follow that town regulation unless you get an exemption to establish the plantings that you've done. And I could be wrong, but that was my understanding.
the only thing is if you use town water, Frank, you only get one day a week to use your irrigation system. If you're using well water, you have to follow, you cannot water between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Right.
But you could water every day of the week if you have well water.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm pretty darn sure, because that's why I was gonna put a well in, but I have issues with, because I have 2 septic systems and I couldn't get far enough away from them.
Okay.
But that's when everything started, because it can be frustrating, especially if you spend a lot of time on your yard. But
Right.
like I can only water with my irrigation system.
Penny, we're just lucky that you have to take so much time to water out of your day that you don't have time for other things.
I know, but I can put a hose out with a sprinkler back and forth every day of the week, except between 9 and 5. So it's kind of one of those funny things.
Right.
But I don't have a problem letting them.
Well, the logic in not watering during the day is a lot of it evaporates.
Oh yeah, no, well, you shouldn't. The sun's gonna sap it right up, so.
Okay. So the question, we're back to what to do with the heirs. Do we want to remove that stipulation and allow them, and you could do it with some caveats, like it could be used for them to establish 2 years to establish their plants. Then they have to follow the other regulations. Amy, do you know if there's a time that Toll Brothers is allowed to use that, or is that perpetuating? I don't know how that works. I can't remember.
I don't know that it's restricted. I guess that I could find out from Board of Health, but I'm not aware that there's restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking is that they're going to,
And from DPW though, I would say.
right, but they're going to continue to use that well and that irrigation system.
Forever.
Well, as long as the water's there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be other superseding stuff that comes down from the state, which happens more regularly, especially with water consumption.
So what do
If
we
we
want?
agreed to it, they'd have to be subject to any regulations that are in existence.
I don't see a problem with us removing that piece. I think that's something we need to look at and decide, do we want to keep that kind of boilerplate pieces? There's probably a few things in our orders that should maybe be looked at.
But on this one, if we need a motion, I'd make a motion to,
I'll second it.
So we have a motion from Richard and a second from Penny that they're going to allow a well
Irrigation System.
and an irrigation system, but do we want to be a little bit more restrictive than that?
Well, and they have to follow town regulations, that's all.
subject to any rules that are in existence.
Amy, does that make sense? You're muted. No, you're not. Are you good with that?
Yes,
All right, motion from Richard,
Yep.
second from Penny. Jen,
Sure.
Frank, yes. Clear as mud.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
So we're just going to be clear on where we're going next Tuesday?
So next Tuesday, the hope is that we can have a workshop meeting, commission members,
What time?
staff. I don't know what works for everybody. Is 6 o'clock too early, too late?
It's good for me.
Definitely not too early.
No.
I'm an old woman. I go to bed early.
And I'm older and I go to bed early.
All right. So it's way in the woods up the West End.
Mount Hope.
I mean, I'll say 5:30 if you guys want to start
Let's go
a little bit
5:30.
earlier.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is thinking of Andrew.
Andy, yeah.
He might not be able to get there 5:30, but I bet he might be able to at 6. I'm speaking for him, which is not good, but
Let's say
But
we'll
where's he working?
we'll send out a time.
Okay.
We got to post that pretty quick, don't we, John?
well, is this a public meeting or a workshop?
No,
Where all of us are there it's a workshop, but because of the quorum, we're going to have to post it. So,
Okay.
well,
um,
Oh, yeah, we do. You're right. Of course.
so let's post
yeah,
it.
you do,
Yes.
but we're not gonna be talking about
We're not doing any
no
town.
hearings, no, like, it's not that kind, no voting, no hearings. It's just, but it's a meeting to go over some administrative matters that we
but
could.
is it open to the public?
We often don't get a chance to just talk about some of these things, and it would be nice to have some sort of informal discussion. Anything that we decide or discuss during this that we think we want to pursue, I think then we would wind up holding a formal meeting and advertise that as such so that folks would be known. But this is just a round table. It's a chance to catch up. I'm offering to pick up some pizza.
For the
Yeah.
board
so-
only?
If we just decide that we're going towards like a policy or a regulation or something like that, then that would go,
Then
down
we'll,
of public hearings. But
Okay,
the
that's what I'm just trying to get to, where you have to post it.
educational workshop.
This is a workshop for the board only.
yeah, I just think it's a chance for us to catch up a
Yeah.
little bit, talk about
Right.
things like, utilizing something like Mac for some of the things
Yeah.
that members may not.
Yeah.
I think it'd just be nice to be able to have that sort of discussion.
No,
There's
And
no question, but it's not a public meeting. It's just a workshop.
I just wanted to make sure, because that's what
that's,
I'm looking for,
that's right.
to discuss things amongst
good.
us.
Okay, so let's say 5:30. It's going to be at the Mount Hope Building, which is at
I
the
know where that
corners
is.
Cedar and Clap. Brendan could walk. Okay.
Sounds good.
And that's the idea. And if you've got thoughts, I did send some ideas out. And what we would like to try to do, though, is we're going to try to make a list of things, and hopefully we don't get too sidetracked so that we can have a chance to bat around a number of topics. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anybody else?
Frank,
Penny?
just, Amy is going to meet me tomorrow at 10 at Teak if you want to join us.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah,
I-
at 10 o'clock. You're more
Okay.
than welcome to join us.
Well, I appreciate that.
Frank's a very busy guy. He never came by 2 days in a row to pick up a slice of cake.
If-
So
That's how bad it is.
Listen, that's bad, Jen. No, I know he's very,
No,
very.
it's wicked bad. If you saw the picture of the cake.
cake was good.
Oh, did you enjoy it, Jen?
It was, my family said it was the best cake I've ever made.
Uh-oh, Frank.
All right, the other thing, at our next meeting, we have to discuss a few things like some liaisons. There's 3 board members that are up for renewal. Doug, myself,
And
and Richard, I think, right?
Yep.
So we just have to
Hope you all want to come back.
deal with that, and then there's also the conflict of interest thing that has to be done. She sent some stuff out the other day, and I
Yeah,
didn't.
she did.
But we got to deal with those things.
Yep.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Anybody else?
Second,
And is a second. All in favor, Jen?
What if I say no? Do we get to hang out all night?
We
Oh,
might
no.
have
So
to.
exciting.
Yes.
This is a fun committee.
Yeah.
I want to
that's
go
nice.
see my doggy.
Yes.
Where's
Capital
Alan?
F.
Have a
All right,
nice-
everybody. See you next
have a-
week.
You
Take
bet.
care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.